Most Kenyans prefer to invest in the real estate sector as it's one of the safest ways to watch your money grow. A warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. This is NTV Property Show. Now, land experts say that ignorance by many Kenyans to want to own prime property is one of the main factors as to why Conmen have infiltrated the real estate sector. We get to delve into this in not too long, but for now, let's have a look at what we have on our Property of the Week segment. Priced at 16.5 million, this 4-bedroom maisonette with master en suite in Highway Estate South Sea has a very different outlook from the rest of the houses in the estate. It could be the well-done renovation beginning with the freshly painted walls that definitely catches one's eye. Electricity in this unit is postpaid as used to be from before with the postpaid meters. However, it's possible to change this to prepaid electricity depending on one's preferences. Water is supplied by Nairobi Water. However, with most residents in Nairobi and its environs facing water challenges, provision has been taken into prime consideration. This maisonette has an underground tank of 500 litres, a top tank of 500 litres and a backyard tank of 5,000 litres to ensure that water shortage is not experienced here. The ceramic tiled living room is spacious and is fitted with curtain and shear rods. Wallmaster has been used in the living room with contrasting colours in the dining room, which gives the house an elegantly bright look. MDF cabinets and a granite countertop are some of the features defining the kitchen. There is provision for a 6-cooker burner and a hood has already been fitted. Sockets are in place for all electric kitchen appliances. A steel door from the kitchen leads to the spacious backyard. Here is where the 5,000-litre tank is. There is still enough space to hang your laundry, and just in case you love outdoor games, you can construct a small backyard tennis court or basketball court. Back inside the house, the guest cloakroom is at the end of the corridor from the living room. It is ceramic tiled, can be used by guests or occupants of the first room as it's right next to it. This is the first bedroom on the ground floor. It is fitted with sockets and has a spacious wardrobe with a shoe rack inside. The wardrobe also has a mirror. Up this staircase, you find the children's room. This specific one has been tailor-made for a boy, but note that the wallpaper can easily be changed to suit a girl. The lighting fixtures can also be played around with to give it an edgy look. In the third room is where the water heater is placed. It is spacious and is ceramic tiled and has a fitted wardrobe with enough room for one's convenience. The lighting fixture is chandelier and this gives the room a splendid look. The shared washroom has a shower cubicle, towel rail, pedestal sink with a mirror. This is shared by the 3 rooms and is similar to that in the master bedroom, the shower cubicle and a pedestal sink. However, in the master bedroom is provision of a bathtub. From the spacious master room with its wardrobe that has ample storage space is the grilled balcony that allows one to look out into the entire estate. Here you can display your outdoor furniture or potted plants as you so desire. The Highway Estate Maisonette has close proximity to Eka Hotel, Ole Sereni, Next Gen Mall, and Capitol Center. Various hospitals in the area include Gertrude Children's Hospital and Avenue Healthcare.
We want to make sure that you enjoy your holiday by bringing in those decorative Easter eggs to put in your home. We will show you 2 simple methods that you get to do all by yourself.
The coloring of eggs is an established art, with eggs often being painted, dyed, and otherwise decorated. Eggs were also used in various holiday games which still live on till now, the most common known as Easter egg hunt. A short background to how Easter eggs came about. In Eastern Christianity, both meat and dairy are still prohibited during the Lenten fast, and eggs are seen as dairy, a foodstuff that could be taken from an animal without shedding its blood. That is the reason why eggs laid during this time were often boiled or preserved. It was during Easter that the consumption of eggs resumed after the Lenten fast. Eggs were thus a mainstay meal and a prized Easter gift for children. It's always fun and exciting to decorate eggs at Easter time. Over the years, there are different methods of decorating that have come up, and each method has its own style. As Easter is around the corner, here are 2 simple methods of decorating that are very budget-friendly.
Easter is coming up, and I'm sure you're thinking of ways to decorate for your Easter holiday. Well, today we want to tell you all about Easter eggs. Yes, you've seen them on the internet, but we will be showing you how you get to do it by yourself at your home. We show you 2 steps. The first one is using uncooked rice, and the other one we will be using crayons. So for now, we begin with that uncooked rice. Here is what you need. Now, definitely, because we're using uncooked rice, have the uncooked rice in maybe a bowl that you'd like to put it in. You need food color of any color that you'd like. We've used raspberry red and blue, so you can have them there, but this is powder form. Remember, you can use either powder form or liquid form. For powder, make sure you have at least a jug of warm water. And then these are sealable containers. Why sealable containers is because this process would need us to shake up the Easter eggs and the rice in these containers, so you need them sealed. And of course, your eggs.
Step 1. Pour uncooked rice in the sealable container. It has to be large enough to fit 1 egg. Each egg must have a separate container. Step 2. Add in the food coloring of your choice. Use only 1 color for each container. If the food color is in powder form, mix it with very little warm water. Step 3. Place a lid on the container and shake it until the rice is coated.
You can see from this side that the rice is now taking the color of the food color. So this is blue, this is red. All right, so you open up the sealable containers. As you can see, they all have different colors.
Step 4. Place the hard-boiled egg inside. Make sure it's not peeled.
And then you close it up again.
Step 5. Shake the container until the contents are perfectly mixed.
Slowly.
Step 6. Place the egg on a porcelain plate. Allow it to dry.
Place it in a porcelain plate.
That's it. Simple and fun.
All right, we now want to show you step 2 of decorating your Easter eggs. And this is a very simple step, and I'm sure your kids, if you have any, would love to do this with you. So what you need is your eggs, as always, 2 of them. We're using 2, you can use as many as you want. Then a paper towel and your colored crayons. So because our bowl is a little moist, you need to make sure that all the water is dried out from every egg. So you take your paper towel and you dry them out completely. Remember, this is also important because you need to use hard-boiled eggs. Make sure there's no peeling on any. So once it's dry, you can now place it on your table and then put your bowl aside. And then now it's time to use crayons.
Begin coloring. You can color different designs or simply scribble all over the egg. Whatever the design, it all turns out just fine.
The good thing with decorating Easter eggs using crayons is that it's your style, so no one will really ask, what was that? Feel free to be as creative as you want to be.
Place your eggs on a porcelain plate.
You now have your assortment of decorative Easter eggs. We've used crayons, we've used food color, uncooked rice, all this just to make sure your Easter is fun and creative and unique. So enjoy your Easter holiday.
Easter eggs bring out such a splendid feel on any table, especially while celebrating the Easter holiday with friends and family.
Have you been a victim of a con in a property deal or a land deal? Well, that is what we will be talking about right after this short commercial break. Conmen infiltrating the real estate sector. Social media is abuzz with many people talking of experiences of being conned while trying to purchase property or even land. Question is, how have conmen infiltrated the real estate sector? That's what we talk about this discussion. We are with Eunice Chishenga. She is the real estate property lawyer at Ashitiva and Company Advocates. So the question, many people are wondering, and even on social media, people have gotten these experiences and are really complaining. How is it that these conmen have come into the real estate sector?
First of all, Kenyans apportion prosperity to property ownership. So oftentimes you will find that fraudsters know and are aware of this appetite to own property. So you will find that they appear at every stage of the property purchase. From the minute you meet a prospective property seller, you might be dealing with an agent. So at that point, they will not, of course, disclose that they're an agent. They pretend that they have the authority to sell that property. As you proceed to have the documentation now in place to sign the documents, you will find that most of them insist that the seller is not in the country. Mm-hmm. They will tell you that they want, they have a power of attorney to sign the documents. So oftentimes most people get conned in that way. And towards the execution of the documentation, you will find that most fraudsters are very keen on obtaining a deposit that is slightly higher than what the statute provides for, being the normal 10%, because they want to make an early return for investment on fraud. So they will, of course, lure you into a quick, cheap deal for you to invest more. And at the end of the day, by the time you execute those documents, they are long gone. But then those that are very bold, they will continue on into the transaction and proceed to a point where they exchange the documents. And the documents will at first seem genuine because they have obtained a fake title from the lands office, seemingly possibly because of replacing a title under fraudulent schemes. So by the time you're presenting the documents for registration and the registration is complete, you find that you have a legitimate title, but once you go to settle on the property and take possession, you find another purchaser.
Is it ignorance by Kenyans to want to own this prime property or even land, and then we forget to look at the nitty-gritty? Is it ignorance?
That assertion could be true, but I would attribute the ignorance per se to the lack of knowledge of what the laws provide. Most purchasers do not even know the know-how of what their property rights are per the Constitution, or even what the Land Act stipulates in cases of fraud, in cases of purchase of property, or the basic terms for starting a negotiation on purchase of property per the Law Society conditions of sale.
Let's then talk about the key factors that any Kenyan should look at, especially when wanting to purchase property.
Firstly, it starts and stops with due diligence. Due diligence is important, and with this, it means you have to engage a professional. You can carry it out on your own, but you won't know what you're looking for when you're carrying out the due diligence. You have to check the Ndungu Land Report, which talks about irregular allocations of properties and double allocation. It talks about, there's also the survey office. You could visit the survey office, get a deed plan of the property, get to understand what are the beacons, what is, if this property has even been updated at the survey office, is it even on a road reserve? If you're dealing with a company, it would be very prudent for you to take a visit to Sharia House and visit the registrar of companies, request for a list of directors of this company, get to understand, are you dealing with an agent or are you dealing with the directors of this company? Who are you dealing with in that sale? That way, by the time you're executing the documents, you're sure before you put down a deposit that you're actually dealing with genuine persons. And it would help as well if you actually go and visit the site and get to understand what is the property value of the area. Are you getting, if the property is cheap, best believe that
there are many cases, and I'm sure you have dealt with it being a real estate property lawyer, when people go into probably the Ministry of Lands and they want to do a search here and they actually do the due diligence, but at the end of it all, they find that, you know, there's probably an illegal transaction here, and yet it's still due diligence. So what happens in such cases?
In such cases, it would be best for the person to proceed and just report. You find even social media now has a platform for such purchasers to even air people who are engaged in such fraudulent dealings. And equally, you could report these people to the Director of Criminal Investigations. They have a land fraud unit that is very vibrant in investigating such cases. Equally proceed to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, report this public or state officer, let them be interdicted for the personal crimes that they're committing by giving searches that are seemingly genuine but are fraudulent in nature.
What are probably some of the quick cases that you've dealt with that deal with conmen in real estate?
Mostly you find that every single time a purchaser insists on signing documents away from an advocate, there is a problem, because half the time you get to meet the agent, you don't necessarily meet the purchaser. You're given some illusions that the purchaser is away, he's on travel. It's very important, and that's where I get to deal with some of the situations that look seemingly a bit off. You should insist that the person signs the documents in front of you, or sometimes purchasers tend to, or sellers tend to present you with copies of documents. It would be important and prudent for a professional to request for originals of the documentation prior to engaging in a transaction.
And I'm sure there are other cases where you've seen of, or even you've actually watched it on TV and seen it online, where there are accomplices even in the Ministry of Lands. And, you know, as a buyer, I'm coming in, I'm very, you know, I'm excited about getting these properties, but then I have to deal with these things. What happens in such cases?
In such cases, again, you have to report this matter, because it will take a criminal nature in case that you were dealing with an official that is involved in this scheme. Unfortunately, there are there, and it would help for citizens to actually report these matters. The next logical step, of course, is for penal sanctions to be imposed on such a person. They would be charged for criminal offense for aiding and abetting or colluding with fraudsters to fool the general masses. So such the penal offense for this is not a term of less than 10 years or 1 million shillings in fines. And equally, they could lose their office. If you follow the Constitution, and the Leadership and Integrity, Chapter 6 provides that if at all a person is caught engaging in such an act as a public official, they would, of course, be interdicted for such a matter, and they would be subjected to disciplinary proceedings in that office, and ultimately they would lose their job. And at the end of the day, they cannot hold any other public office, being the best way to deal with this matter.
All right, so that's mainly for a public officer. But what else does the law provide in terms of a private individual who is caught up in these offenses? What else does the law provide?
The law provides that that you would be caught for obtaining under false pretenses, because you're taking money that does not belong to you, knowing very well that you intend to fool this person. On a personal capacity as well, you could institute a civil case against such a person for misrepresentation, and equally report them again to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for corruption, because this fraud is an element of corruption as well.
When you're saying, you know, go and report, go to the courts, go do this, you know, people would think, what if it takes so long, yet my money is there, I've lost a lot of money, and I'm trying to think, how can I regain this? But then going back to the courts, there are cases upon cases upon cases, then what does someone do?
The ultimate thing is that in case you've been in a scheme that has some fraudulent aspects of it, and you've obtained a title through, seemingly you were not involved in the fraud, you will be allowed to hold that property at the expense of the property owner. But in most instances, the court will cancel any entries that have been made at the registry that deny you the right to your property. Yes.
Do you think that we can really control conmen in the real estate sector? Can something be done to actually just phase them out completely?
One of the most ingenious ways that the Lands Registry has come up with to curb these con activities is they ensure that any title that is being issued to date has a barcode number. That way, it's very difficult for them to imitate the barcode. There is also the computerization of the records. This, of course, helps us identify where there's double allocation of titles, and equally where there is fraud, it's hard to perpetuate fraud on documents that are online. Yeah.
From a property lawyer's perspective, what are your final words with regards to this entire sector, the property estate sector, as well as conmen coming in and the buyers themselves? So,
from a purchaser's perspective, I would advise that any single time that you want to purchase property, do not be in a hurry. If you're going to deal with a website, checking property, ensure that it's a credible website. Get advice from a professional. They have referrals that help. Attend Homes Expo. Get as much information as you can on the person that you want to purchase from prior to purchasing. From a professional perspective, Due diligence is a must. Of course, it would be tantamount to professional negligence if you allow a transaction to continue, aiding it, yet you know that you have not verified the very person that is your client. And from the ministry perspective, what they're doing currently in terms of audit of the records, computerization of the records, it definitely will go a long way in making sure that some of these instances of fraud are curbed.
All right, great. There are many things that are in regard to property transactions, but just make sure in case you want to purchase that you do the due diligence as you've heard us talk about. Make sure you verify as much as you can. Yes, you get this prime properties, but just in case you don't want to lose your money, make sure you do that research and do it well. With that, we wrap up today's show. Thanks again for joining us. It's always a great pleasure to have you with us. Remember, next Sunday, we still are here, 5:30 p.m. on NTV with informative topics just for you. On social media, talk to us, NTV Property Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We'll be right there and get to hear more from you. See you next Sunday.